we've so far 2 great speakers, Don Taylor and Patrick Wright. Thank you guys so much for that. They've joined the panel up here, and I want to introduce the panel to you. We have Will Davis. He is the Chief Marketing Technology Officer and co-founder of Right Source Marketing. We have Sean Sutherland, who is the Head of Accounts, Director of Accounts at Capalza, his business partner back there as well. And then we have Jen Aldinger, who is the Director of Client Service with Response Labs. So thank you guys for the panel. So we have some questions we're going to go through. Totally spontaneous answers here. Nobody's pre-planned or had any calls ahead of time. So the first question for the panel: what do consumers want from a business or a brand in 2019 in order to give their loyalty to that business or brand? We're going to start with Sean.
Yeah, I think this year especially, after the tumultuous year that we had in 2018, people want to do business with companies that they know what they stand for, that they support causes that they can get behind, that they know where the money's going. If they are, they're choosing with their dollars to support your business, they want to make sure that that money is used correctly. It's not supporting something that they couldn't themselves also support.
Great. Jen?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. A shared belief. You want to support something the company is supporting, and your money's not going to a landfill somewhere, and to be very specific with an example. But I think from a larger brand perspective, it's that shared belief. They want to find relevancy with what you're offering and what they believe in. And then I think from a communication specific perspective for CRM, we know that a lot of customers are looking for that personalization, the relevancy Don talked about in his presentation. We're seeing better results when you can target your communication and tailor it to what they're looking for. So getting to know your audience and making personalized efforts for them and giving them what they really want is what I think consumers are looking for.
Cool. Patrick?
Yeah, I think number 1 is authenticity, and number 2, as Don pointed out, is not misspelling their name. It goes a long way.
Don't suck.
Don, is that your point, or do you have anything more to add on to that?
No, honestly, I led with it on the slide. There was loyalty on the customer side. It's relevancy. It's showing that, to build on that, the relationship that a customer is now. Mind you, we're Ahold Delhaize, 21 brands. That if you spend $1 with Hannaford, is it just going to Europe? It's not. It's staying here. That's where we have to build on those community relationships, but deliver relevancy.
I think that's what you see a lot too happening is bigger brands are trying to look like smaller brands, because smaller brands, they have that mom and pop feel, they have that around the corner feel that people like. People want to expect the same thing when they go to that place, and I think bigger brands are trying to tap into that. That's the advantage that small brands have over.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about consumer brands. Will, you work in a lot with the B2B side of things. That same question, but how does it apply to your area?
Yeah, so it's really similar. I mean, at the end of the day, businesses are composed of shocker humans, right? So the people still buy in many of the same ways. They don't walk into the office in the morning all of a sudden become a completely different human most of the times, right? They're a consumer and they're a business buyer. So relevance is critical. I think even more so because years ago, people would buy business solutions, they were enterprise solutions, like you probably bought something that came on a stack of CDs or, gosh, I'm not gonna say floppy disks, but maybe hard disks, and you installed it and then you owned it, you were done, right? And then we started moving to more of this service model, so software as a service in the technology space, or outsourcing professional services, and gosh, there were times when agencies were full service agencies that had 12-month, 24-month, no opt-out contracts. Some of us up here wish that was still the case. But you constantly need to be earning value. You constantly need to be delivering value and being really relevant to your customers, because that software license is up in 30 days and maybe I won't renew it, or maybe I'll find someone who does accounting faster and better and maybe less expensive or more responsive than I am. So it really, that relevancy is critical.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about the communications, the touch points, email, text messaging, push. How much is too much when it comes to CRM or loyalty communications, be it any of those channels? And how do you know that it's too much? Jen?
I think that the answer is sort of a non-answer to this one. It depends on your audience. It depends are. It depends on what your industry is and what type of business you're in. Some people might want a communication from you every single day, and they're engaged with it, they're opening it, and some people are sort of a once a month, once a week check in with me, and I'll maybe stay engaged with you when I need to, depending on what you're offering. So I think the way that you know that is to monitor your metrics. So you should get data points back from every single piece of communication that you send. Is there an open? Is there an unsubscribe? Is there a click? What type of content are people engaging with when they receive that communication from you? And it's sort of always checking in, not just set it and forget it as you put your journey out there. So your metrics will tell you. It'll tell you where you have drop off. It'll tell you when you become irrelevant to them. And if you don't watch those and learn from them and optimize from them, then you don't really know where you sit on what's enough and what's too much.
Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, like Jen said, did a great job of saying it. I mean, I think it's hard to blanket statement answer that because different verticals and industries are so different. So, I mean, I think that like the starting point is that the market is going to bear out what that behavior should be like, and then the opportunity to improve is like A/B testing, and like it's kind of sits between those two. But like if you fuck it up from the jump, like you're not going to get a chance to A/B test. So you have to pay attention from the beginning. And then if you're not well organized, then your A/B testing is not going. Like
you don't have a chance.
It's ineffective, yes, like, because you don't know what you're measuring, and if you don't declare your baseline from the very beginning, and then very clearly say this is our strategy, and we're going to move forward one by one. I think that it's a balance between those two.
Absolutely. Don, thoughts?
Yeah, lots, because we send a lot of emails and a lot of stuff. So, echoing everything, the consumer will tell you when too much is too much. I think one of the best applications, and we don't have it, and I wish we did, was a snooze feature in Preference Center.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you know what, enough's enough right now. Surprise, surprise, I get an email every day from bowtie.com. funny, I don't know why. But what it is I don't open them very often, but it's relevant. And A/B test everything. I was at a small symposium conference at the Coke headquarters, and the guy from Papa John's was up there. He's like, if you're engaging with me digitally, you are going to test, no matter what. It's everywhere. Always test. That said, be careful that you don't over test on the same channel at the same time, because you don't know which is which. So if you're building that stuff, but always test. It's free to you. So,
Will?
Yeah, I think the key is, and we're hitting on a lot of the same themes, right? But I think the key is also know what you're going to do before things happen. So, when you run a test, what are you expecting to learn from that? When you're saying monitor your open rates or click-through rates, they went down. I cannot tell you how many times I see someone be like, what should I do? It's like, well, you should already know what you were going to do if and when that happens. There's a lot of great tools out there. There's software that will do things like send time optimization. So I know that Jen opens her email at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, I don't really know that. That'd be super creepy. Like, we just met. And someone else opens most of their email at 6 o'clock at night when I send it. So why wouldn't I take advantage of that and deliver them email at the times that they've historically been most likely to engage? Or why don't I say, hey, those bow tie emails I'm sending every day because you bought a bow tie on our website, you haven't opened them in a while, do I drop you into more of a weekly cadence or twice a week? So, what you have with the data is great, but if you don't have a plan for what you're going to do with it when something happens, it's like the old Mike Tyson thing, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Right. The philosopher Mike Tyson, clearly a genius. But I just love that because, you need your plan ahead of time because you're going to get punched in the mouth. What are you going to do?
Right. Sean?
I think some great points have been brought up here too, but it's just the data and the consumers have gotten smarter, but the tools to actually harness that data has also been getting smarter as well. Like we use HubSpot over at Capauza, and it's really helpful in terms of understanding why people are dropping off, what types of newsletters are working best, which we should avoid, what day even works better. But to what Jen and Don said, actually, the customers can tell you one is too much enough, but they're also going to continually do it until you say stop talking to me. And the more you do that, the more the brand's going to interact in you the way that you want to be interacted with, if at all.
That's great. Just want a point of clarification. Don does not buy just one bow tie at a time. Multiple in that
Bulk purchases.
I bought this one just for
Yes.
All right, Will, we're going to start with you on this one. What are the greatest challenges a business or brand face when thinking about employing a CRM program or loyalty marketing program, and what are the key considerations?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge people face, when we were joking about this earlier, I mean, when we didn't have that pre-call about the panel, is Mark Benioff did the best and worst thing in the world, which is he let you put down a credit card and buy CRM without talking to any of the other stakeholders. Right? IT doesn't have to be involved. Sales leader just decides we need somewhere to store all the stuff, and it's in the cloud. It's going to be awesome, right? And so the right stakeholders aren't at the table, and the right business outcomes aren't being thought about. And Tom, what I really like about your presentation, you talked about, okay, here's where we started, and here's we got all the people in the room, and we said, you guys are gonna have to get along, right? And I think that's critical. People talk about CRM, they jump to like, what's the technology, and how frequently they're gonna email people, and who are we gonna email? It's like, you need to get everyone in the room and on the plan first. I would invest, 5-10 times more time in that planning than the execution, right? It's not that it's trivial to stand the tools up, but to your point, like there's so much great technology and it's so available.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the right plan, you don't have the right inputs and know what the outcomes you want to get, you're gonna fail.
It's that too, but it's like when you get that data, knowing what to do with it, right? Like if I'm going to invest in doing this, I need to actually commit to using it effectively. I think a lot of times people look at loyalty marketing programs or CRMs as just like, it's like an add-on to a plan, but no, it should be an integral part of it and decide upon very early what you're going to do with it, what you want out of it, and how you're going to adjust if what you get out of it's not what you got, what you wanted in the first place.
Because ultimately it's going to become, it's not going to be valuable to your customer, and they're going to back out of it.
Yeah. Or it'll fail, right?
Yes.
I mean, I had, as we didn't talk about on the pre-call, I had a client that was really interested in doing it, and they had a great brand and really nice intentions. No one ran it after we launched it. No one on that team really cared and put any thought toward it.
And the ownership of it.
Exactly.
It's not onboarded properly.
Yeah.
We were having, for South by Southwest, Department of Transportation, right? They're trying to gather data on driverless vehicles and how to build regulatory stuff for the entire driverless vehicle thing. So they're like building this whole thing. They're gonna have like a 40 by 40 space, like at South by Southwest. And the last question they got asked was, well, how are you guys gonna capture data for people that are passing through? And they were like, well, I don't know, we're just gonna put out a clipboard. And everyone was like, what do you mean? Like everyone around you is going to have robots and holograms. Like they're gonna have Tupac singing to the people crossing through, and they're gonna sing their email back. You can't do it like that. But at the same time, like this idea of your data position, it can't be a bolt-on after the fact. Like, and that's one of the things that we try. A big part of what we wanted to do is we think that people that engage with your brand via an experience are your best opportunities. So you need to, before that experience even starts, the thing that should start at the center of it is how are we going to opt these people in, and how are we going to speak to them afterwards, so that way they understand how much we value them participating with us. And unless you're going to start with that at the very beginning, you're doing the data that you're capturing a disservice, like from the jump. And it's very hard to work backwards to like get someone like, hey, there are like 9,600 emails, like go do something with it. And they're like,
and it's not only just opt in, it's continually use the service, continually be engaged.
Yeah, and that's
where
hard.
the value comes from.
Yeah, you made the HubSpot analogy a couple times earlier with their content and all that, and I remember speaking to a client years ago, before we started working together, like, yeah, we wrote an ebook, and we put a form in front of it, because like we downloaded an ebook by filling out a form that said put a form in front of your ebook, and someone downloaded it. What do we do, right? Like, do we call them? Do we not call them? When do we call? Like, this whole, wait, you guys didn't think about what if this actually works, right?
Well, take them to read it. Like, should we wait 10 minutes, like 20 minutes?
Maybe we should call them the second they download it, because that's not creepy at all.
That's more Salesforce.
Don, anything to add to this?
Yeah, so, well, a couple different things. One is prepare. It's daunting. HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever it is, it's daunting. It's not undoable, but prepare. Get a plan to educate yourself, your partners, do pre-work, then do 50% more pre-work. You will reap the rewards down the line. The first year of my initial rewards, we were scrambling. What do we do? Now, I have leaders that come down and say, I got a financial number that tells you what you do with that day. So I didn't have, so it was told what I was going to do. But you prepare, invest more time on the front end. Because again, the first year, it was all hands on deck. And then 2019, I said this going into my team, this is the year we learn how to do our day jobs. We built it. We're up. We're close to orbit. All right. We got to take off the spacesuits and get into the lab and start doing some stuff. So, and lastly, I would say, as it relates to all of this, 90% of the time, fake number, but 90% of the time, I would suspect the integration of a CRM into your company is something brand new. Maybe you're replacing something.
Yeah, that's another acronym.
Right?
Yep.
Don't put by the wayside just change management principles. The awareness that you need it, the desire, the knowledge, because you will sit dusty in the cloud, and you'll be back to writing clipboard.
Even though you'll still be out into the monthly fees and being charged.
Yeah, exactly.
Over
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
You'll never do anything with it.
Yep.
I mean, north of 80% of IT projects are done failures, and it's almost always, besides budget and timeliness and everything else, it's long-term adoption, right? And if people don't have the incentive, training, all the things you need to adopt the tool, like you said, you keep getting the bill, right?
Well,
but nobody's using or extracting value.
And on the side of like building the technology, like nothing is more terrifying. I mean, like I know that it's supposed to be awesome that just somebody's like signed up for MRR, and like monthly recurring revenue is amazing in my world. Like don't get me wrong, I'm very happy about it. But like churn is a really real thing. And when you see someone opt in and buy your stuff and they never take a picture and you're just like, God, what are they doing? And all you want to do is to reach through and say like, what do you need? How can I help you? Like, why aren't you using this? What information don't you have?
Where's that
And like,
disconnect?
it's critical. Like, if people aren't using your technology in the right way, you're failing. It doesn't matter that you're in their visa. Like, you're failing from a long-term point of view, and they're gonna churn out at some point. And if you can't figure out that actual applicatory engagement side of it, like, what are you doing?
And those are the ones that probably keep you up at night, right?
Totally.
And then we see on the B2B side, the other side, it's like, oh, we brought in this CRM tool and we licensed. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Salesforce Dynamics, whatever it was. And 2 years later, the project's a failure. It's gotta be the software's fault, so let's go switch to another software. Because the other option is they'll fire me. Right. Right. So if it's going to be the software's fault or my fault, guess whose fault it is? It's always the software's fault, right?
Well, I think we talk about the customer, the consumer as the core audience that you have to really get to know. But you have this whole other side of the business where you have to get buy-in and you have to onboard. And like, what does the executive leadership want? What are they expecting out of this? And if you aren't answering some of those things and you don't have their buy-in, then it doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the consumer's going to tell you because you're not going to have the internal support to keep it going. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about programs you guys have been involved with, you've started or been a part of or serviced. What are some examples of CRM marketing or loyalty marketing that you've seen in the marketplace that you admire, that you like? And Patrick, we'll start with you.
Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, like I can pay for it with my app. I can pre-order it so I can like run in and they stick it there like on a little like pedestal for me to grab. Like I buy an insane amount. I mean, I was thinking about the cups that go into the landfill. It's been keeping me up not at night, but it's been keeping me up a little bit. And think about the volume.
It's the
Coffee and the churning customers.
Whoa. Man.
Answer that one for you.
That you just blew my mind. I think Dunkin' Donuts is pretty cool in terms of, I mean, they're an interesting brand. They're so very evocative. They're innovative. They're fun and interesting. But at the end of the day, like it's like their rewards program is useful to me, and it's minimal. It's not invasive. It's not over the top. So you talk about like the cadence bearing out, like the market dictating what their cadence should be, and like they nail on the head because they're not emailing me. They're not. Like, they know I'm gonna open their app 3 times a day and pay for my thing. And like, that's the opportunity to be like, yo, like, third coffee's on us today.
Yeah. I think I'm diehard loyal to Southwest. I think the point system, I just love the experience in Southwest. But the credit card plus the points plus the free flights that just wrap up so easily. I mean, what's not to love? To throw their time in there. But I also
Well played.
I really didn't care that, but as I was going to go, I was like, shoot,
change.
it's so great.
Southwest.
Yes.
That's the loyalty.
Yes, absolutely. The drink tickets are good. But from a communications perspective, I love Target, and I shop at Target all the time. I'm very loyal to Target. But every time I open my app or the app's running in the background, I'm getting a push notification on what's on sale that I actually have purchased. So back to the relevancy, it's not like 20% off. What did I not purchase at Target? Cat food.
Produce.
Yeah, it's not 20% off cat food. It's 20% off home. Like, you really need this picture frame and this pillow, but you really don't.
The Isaac Mizrahi
Exactly.
collection.
Yes.
Just get it out and it'll be gone in 36 hours.
You
Yeah.
come get it. So from a communication perspective, I get hit with a push notification from them every single day, but it doesn't bother me at all because it's a perfect channel of choice for me. It's a push. I don't open it. My metrics probably look terrible for them, but I get the flag. I read it. I know what I'm looking for every single day, and that from a communication perspective to me is one that I've seen that's really successful.
That's great. Will?
I'll go kind of lightning round. Amazon, because a box shows up at my house at least once a day and sometimes multiple times a day, and it gets ordered from the Alexa, it gets ordered on an app, it gets streamed on the TV, it sits on the tablet, it's the actual Amazon tablets. We have the Kindle, like Amazon apparently owns my house. Yeah, we're in the ecosystem. Bezos is a genius. On the B2B side, anyone here use HubSpot? I mean, a lot of these software platforms have a lot of loyalty, right? But they get 20,000 plus people to go to Boston, which is a great place, right? But every year, and the thing that fascinates me is people go to inbound and they're like, I'm paying for this software, and I would like to go to the HubSpot gift shop and buy HubSpot swag. Like the stuff we all get, but I'm gonna pay for it because I'm like that much HubSpot. So
It's HubSpot.
right?
Yeah, it's vernacular.
Yeah. So I gotta respect that. And then Drift, which is a B2B chat bot development platform. They're just building this huge loyal audience through conversational marketing. I think that's fascinating to watch as we kind of, to me, they're like the next HubSpot.
Awesome. Don?
If I don't leave with my Hannaford rewards, my flight is canceled.
Everybody's watching, by the way. That's so
So anybody in the great state of Maine, it's about going to New England, my Hannaford rewards. But yeah, sort of keep real. I used to be a Dunkin' junkie when there was one in my building. There's not anymore, so I've sort of lost that. But in New England, we have a convenience store, Cumberland Farms. It's pretty simple. They have an app. You pay you link your checking account. If you buy gas at the pump through the app, you save 10 cents. I mean, I'm at the point now where there could be a cellular drop, and if I can't get my 10 cents off, I'm like, I don't know what to do. But it's interesting, you were talking about the push notifications and the unread emails. We're actually now in a position, just sort of back up a second, we're in a position now where we're looking at email, unread email, as a de facto push notification, especially on mobile. It'll pop up, and because we are digital, it's that notification like, oh, there's something in my app. There's something coming there. So, but I mean, we're
Sean?
If you follow our social media, you know I'm an Arby's guy. So I'm a big fan of Arby's. I like that they started off. It's good sandwiches for the most part. They have the meats. I know what to expect when I go to Arby's. But like they've started this. You can't get it. It's like BWI. It's the perfect pre-flight meal or during flight meal. But like, you do. You go to sleep. But like what I like about it is they created this persona first that existed initially just online. They were one of the first companies to really take that social media snark, that like brand as a human, as someone you'd want to go get a beer with or go eat one of their sandwiches, and then they eventually rolled that out to the rest of their marketing. Like We Have the Meats came much later than Nihilistic Arby's, the spin-off campaign, and aside from just the regular Arby's. So Arby's is killing it. I like them. I was talking to Julie. Shout out to Julie. There you go. We were talking about GameStop earlier. They do a pretty good job. And then locally, THB, Town Not Bagels. I get a push notification when I'm not even thinking about bagels, and they remind me, hey, bagels. And oftentimes we'll tie that with some kind of reward or some kind of discount. And it's not intrusive. It's literally, I forgot about it, and then here we are. Get a bagel.
Bagel in my hand.
That's right. And I have been bagel blitzed, so.
One element I'll throw out there, which is super interesting on the consumer side, is Coca-Cola. Probably everyone here knows someone that has like a relative that has their Coca-Cola room where they bought all the Coke stuff and it's like set up, and here's the logo from the 1900s and all that. But if you go into a restaurant, it's fascinating to me. You go out and someone says, "You can have a Diet Coke," and the server will say, "We have Pepsi products." You're like, "I'll have a water."
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you go to hell and die, right?
Coke will know. They'll
Yeah.
know. I know they'll
And
know.
it's not just like a subtle no thanks. It's like no.
No.
It's not
They're
acceptable.
so
Why did you
I'm
offer me?
offended
Why
that
did
you
you
offered me Pepsi.
Pepsi went at that at the Super Bowl.
They did.
They did.
Is it okay?
And the
Yeah.
beauty of it is Pepsi went at that at the Super Bowl in Coke's backyard in LA. I was at Coke the day after the Super Bowl, and I looked around, all downtown, Pepsi billboards. We're here.
What's on the radar for the next gen of CRM loyalty? Jen, we'll start with you.
We've been talking a lot about voice, and you mentioned Amazon and Alexa, and I think that's in the shopping space. Nobody's really made their way into it from the grocery perspective, but it invades your home. So how can you start to utilize that? I mean, Google and Amazon know every living thing about us. So how can you start to mine some of that and tap into some of that and just make more relevant conversations with literal conversations with our consumers through a device that's in their home, and then starting to make things easier for them. Order through shopping, Alexa, deliver this to me tomorrow, please.
Patrick?
Voice as well.
Yeah, I mean, what do BGE branded sunglasses, Big Boys bail bonds pen, and like a squeeze ball all have in common? Like, there's no way to track the ROI of any of that stuff. So I think that increasingly brands are going to wake up to the fact that the experiences that they're producing, and they're paying 90% of leads that are inbound, which are amazing to get inbound leads that come to us, and we say, like, why are you looking to work with us? They're frank. They say, my boss tells me that I have to have data to support the spend, and I've never done that before, and we don't know how to do that. So I think that what's going to be next is tying all of those billions of dollars of activation engagement budgets back to tangible metrics being placed inside of their CRM, their email marketing, and being able to follow up and prove at the bottom line what the ROI is of that spend.
Sean?
It's been mentioned, but I've got 2 Google Homes at my house. I've got an Amazon Dot, I think the small one is called.
Who tried to fight?
I haven't put them in the room yet. What is it? It's like, is it hello? Google do this, but it's talk to Alexa. I don't know. It's a sound point. But I would love. I said, as the panel was saying, I would love to see those kind of connected devices connected to our reward systems.
Will?
So I think a lot of the stuff, well, it feels really mature, is in its infancy, right? I mean, email marketing, which feels like it's been around forever, it really has not been that long. And I think what's next for a lot of companies is really just to figure out, how do you start testing more? How do you do those A/B tests? How do you become more personalized? You've collected more and more data. What are you doing with it? So I think there's a ton of device things that will be happening, but more and more I think it's really this maturation of how are we using these tools and platforms and data more effectively.
Sure.
And on the flip side, I think it's attribution, which is like the marketer's dream, right? Like, I know that I spent this dollar and this dollar and this dollar and these 3 touches, and that was the most important one,
Which is
maybe you're never going to get there, right? But I think it's also thinking about a lot of the traditional stuff is really effective when it's part of a bigger program, right? So, we all who have sales teams, it's like, you go back in CRM and you're like, what closed that deal? Oh, it was Salesforce.
Right.
Really? Because we generated like 5 touches and an inbound call came in, but you're like, yeah, it right on you. So I think it's looking at how do all those pieces fit together.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen?
I think I already answered.
She started off.
I started.
Jen, see what get more.
Andy, you didn't have a cheat sheet.
I went to the next page.
Follow-up question.
I said I was on a hard pass this one
We're gonna
because I
edit
just
that
sell groceries, but honestly, I'm not going to. Where we're going, where we want to go, where we're going is we're focusing on click and collect e-commerce. All right, we're a grocery store. We're still a little behind the technology times. We have a keen eye on Mr. Bezos and Whole Foods and Prime. And so that's always, ruffling feathers of what's going to happen next. It hasn't, I don't know how it is down here, but in the Northeast it hasn't necessarily been as disruptive as I think everybody thought it would be. And then, on my team, we go back to the avocados, it's data or it didn't happen. Straight up. I can feel as though it may be raining out, but I can tell you right now, it's not. Right? So it's about that data. It's about getting that data and using it and saying, it's data or it didn't happen. Like, let's talk about it. I'm willing to work through the problems that we're about to solve, but that's really where we're going.
Gut instinct doesn't necessarily cut it anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you have that education layer.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we open up to any other questions out here, just give away kind of a final word on sort of our topic of just CRM loyalty marketing and what it's doing and what you guys are doing. Will, we'll start with you.
All right. Plan. When you think you've done enough planning, then stop and plan some more. I think we all share a like mind here, but I think the biggest thing to take away is whatever your program looks like, you've got to really blueprint it. You don't just start building a house by nailing boards together in a corner and running some pipes and hoping it all ends up in the right space. And yet every time I see people launching programs like this, 80% of the time that's what they do, right? So no, you need the blueprint, go for it.
Don?
It's all daunting, it's all doable. It's how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Just plan, build good relationships, and forge on. Don't be afraid of failure. And like I said, your customers are going to tell you suck, but it's okay.
It's feedback.
It's feedback. I would rather Ruth Connor tell me I'm full of crap than unsubscribe.
Right. Sean?
There's a golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. And I think if you're going to do this, before you send anything, think, is this a message I want to receive? Is it the time I want to receive it? What could go wrong with that?
Jen?
I think piggybacking off of that, it's just get to know your customer, right? When you do it in traditional media and you run focus groups on a TV spot, did it resonate? Did this work for you? You pull your target audience. You can do the same thing when it comes to email, push, and SMS, and a loyalty program. So getting to know them and making sure that every message is relevant and valuable.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm gonna almost echo exactly what everyone else has said already, and frankly, it doesn't benefit me because to slow them down on the preparatory side means that they drag their feet on feeding more content into it. So that's the worst ever when you're on a discovery call and you're like, they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're like, but you don't know what you're doing, so this isn't gonna work. We're breaking up, and they're like, well, can we consult with you? And you're like, people got a huge budget, but this is not what we're doing. But I think the critical thing is getting all of the stakeholders on the same page. I learned how to sell photo booths to bat mitzvahs by my feels and being likable and people like me, and it was this whole thing. And then we built software, and I had to figure out how to sell software, and that's totally different because you've got to qualify so much stuff, and something that I've learned, like very much so, is like if I'm selling this platform for lead generation and to integrate into driving persona growth in your program, if like the CMO and the CEO are not in the room and they're not shaking their heads and able to map what we're doing, what we can potentially do to their problems and understanding why, like it's a bad fit. It's a really bad fit. So getting all of the right people on the bus, getting all those people in the right seats on the bus long before you pull out of the depot that's a pretty good analogy, right? I stayed with it all the way through. It's critical. If you want a successful program with technology to build affinity inside of your customer's ecosystem, like you've got to have the right players on the field.
Any questions from the folks out here for the panel? Well, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. We got one. Go ahead. What's your question?
What's next?
What's the next event?
Baltimore Innovation Week in the fall, right?
After party, industry-wide, or what's next for us individually?
I'm going
A little bit of both. Like, what do you see next
You're going to Arby's.
each of your own areas? Like, what do you see the customer experience a year from now, 3 years from now? I know it's a tough question, but
No, from a grocery retailer, it isn't, because we are always looking 2, 3, 4, 5 years. In fact, we've gone so far as to change our strategy into scenario planning, to 10, 20 years. If you give our team an issue that they have to solve in 4 years, I guarantee they'll do it. But if you give them 4 different possible issues, then that's a different skill set. For us, expansion on e-commerce to go, click and collect, curbside, and then knowledge from Peapod. So ultimately, delivery. It's the last mile. That's our bit. It's how do we get it to last mile? People are using Instacart, Uber for your groceries, stuff like that.
Anybody else?
I'd say data transparency, right? So we all are giving up a lot of voluntary and sometimes involuntary data, and often we don't even know when we're doing it or where it's coming from, or is Facebook listening to my microphone that's serving me those ads via Messenger or not? I mean, they've been so reputable in the past, I can't imagine they probably sorry, that was a little bit of an unfair thing. No, that was just a little bit of a dig. All it takes
This is Facebook. My alarm is watching.
So that ad's showing up now, but really I think just transparency so that as we can get value out of things we've talked about, like personalization and like data analysis, really understanding your customer. If your customer doesn't feel like your data is going to be treated properly, right? Your data breach analysis is a great one. I don't know, there was recently an election that kind of put some of that into question. How do you really get buy-in from the customer that this is going to be valuable and this data they're giving you, you're going to use for good purposes?
So I've never been able to say this before, but I read an op-ed in the New York Times this morning about why Facebook should be broken up. I don't know if anybody else saw it. It was fascinating, and it was written by Mark Zuckerberg's business partner that worked inside of Facebook for 10 years and has since moved on and thinks that Mark Zuckerberg is a great person, great human being. And his point was just these juggernauts that grow, that it's anti-American, not because it's anti-American like that, but because the spirit of our country is about innovation. And when you get these massive juggernauts, so there hasn't been a new social media platform that has really launched since 2011 because no one wants to try anymore. So I think that from that data compliance side of it, and really figuring out what big technology means, so that way it can continue to really be transcendental and incredible and grow what our lives mean, but also so it doesn't stamp out entrepreneurial efforts and endeavors. Personally, for Pixelated, what is up is, when we started this thing, it was a photo booth company, and I thought that it would be short-lived. And then when I was like, you don't totally suck at business, I thought, wow, we'll do this for a while, and then we'll power this down, and there'll be a bigger idea. And here we are, and now we're like a big lead generation platform that has massive ideas, and what my goal is to build the biggest company that's ever come out of Baltimore, that is going to be the one that in 10 years we look back and it is the watershed moment that allows Baltimore to be the clinch moment where we start to identify that we do have very smart people and we have a very robust ecosystem that just needed that big catalyst to draw everyone together and really provide like a watershed moment. So that's my goal, is to build the biggest company in Baltimore.
Get our flags like hold up here.
I know.
Under Armour.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, anybody watching on Facebook or watching. Have a good night. Take a beer. Have a beer. Thank you.
I didn't know if we were doing like a group photo or something.
Oh, that would be nice.
Hey
Dan, you take a picture with us?
Wonderful.
Tom, you want to come back and do like a group photo?
We're gonna put it on Facebook. There's one in here.
Oh, they took it out?
The lenses. Hey, come on, man. I mean, there's a group of people.